Hey guys, what is up? This is Mr. A. Crizzy here, and welcome back to a new movie review once again. In tonight's movie review, I'm going to be reviewing the new Ridley Scott movie, which came out last week on Thanksgiving. Well, technically the day before Thanksgiving, November 22nd, and it came out the same day as Disney's Wish. And yeah, this Ridley Scott review is on Napoleon, directed by Ridley Scott and starring Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby. And here are my tickets to Napoleon. I went and saw this movie tonight with like earlier today, this afternoon, and we finished the movie tonight at 6:00. And so, yeah, these are all three tickets that I saw, that I went to see this movie with my dad and Uncle Charles. Yep. And of course, here is my movie ticket collection right here. I'm going to put these tickets inside. Yeah, that's a lot of tickets I've been collecting here from Cinemark. Oh, there we go. Yep. All set. Alright guys, so on with the review. Excuse me, pardon me. But yeah, so Napoleon is the new Ridley Scott film with Joaquin Phoenix, and it's also based on a true story, and it's also, based on historical events, on a true story, on historical events. Because this movie's played out as like a historical epic film, where it's kind of almost like an epic film, but it's more like a biography historical film. So in this movie, we follow Napoleon, of course, the title character Napoleon. This movie is a look at the military commander's origins and a swift, ruthless climb to emperor, viewed through the prism of his addictive and often violent relationship with his wife and one true love, Josephine. And of course, we got ourselves some battle sequences that happen like at some points during the movie, and it basically tells us the true historical events of Napoleon himself, played by Joaquin Phoenix, and And of course, his wife and one true love, Josephine, is played by Vanessa Kirby. And yeah, and Rupert Everett's also in the film too. Yes, the actor from My Best Friend's Wedding, Rupert Everett, he's in the film too, playing the Duke of Wellington. And yeah, so when I excuse me, first of all, this movie is actually my second Apple TV Plus original film I saw in theaters, because and I think this is also the second Apple original film to be released exclusively in movie theaters, because they previously did it with Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. And when I first saw the trailer to Napoleon, it did look like a pretty interesting historical film about the true historical events of Napoleon. And of course, like, Joaquin Phoenix is in the film too. And then, of course, I got my chance to see this movie at Cinemark tonight with my dad and Uncle Charles. My dad and Uncle Charles liked the film. They thought it was pretty good. And in my opinion, I thought Napoleon was actually a pretty good film. And yeah, because this movie kind of reminds me of that other Ridley Scott film which came out in like 2021. Like that was called The Last Duel. Like The Last Duel was also a historical war film, where it's not really like a proper war film. It's just more like a historical film that Ridley Scott has done in his other films, like in some of his other films that he worked on. And yeah, because the movie kind of does remind me a little bit of The Last Duel a little bit, but of course this movie is only focused on the true story of Napoleon, and of course Josephine. And how like Napoleon's is facing wars against like other countries like throughout the movie, and after seeing the movie, like I said, the movie itself was actually pretty good in my opinion. One flaw I have with the movie though is because the movie can get sometimes the pacing can get a little slow. It's sometimes like the pacing is kind of slow during the middle of the movie, but then again, the runtime and pacing was not even that long. It's only like 2 hours and 38 minutes. Like, it's not as long as Killers of the Flower Moon or The Irishman, which were both Martin Scorsese films. and this is my second Apple original film I saw in theaters. And I gotta say, the theatrical experience, like the way the film is shot and the way the experience is, like when the battle sequences and the action comes on, it's actually very cinematic, and it really gives you that cinematic feel, and that this movie definitely belongs exclusively in movie theaters, and not only Apple TV Plus. Yeah, the good thing is this movie's not on Apple TV Plus yet. Not even Killers of the Flower Moon. Like, that's not even on Apple TV Plus yet. And yeah. Yeah, it's like, and like I said, the one issue I have with the film is that I kind of have with the film is that the pacing can get a little slow at times, but then it picks up where the third act was going through. And I gotta say, the battle sequences, like the action, whenever the action's on screen, like the battle sequences or like the war sequences, it's actually very awesome. I think the battle sequences were a lot of fun, and they were awesome to watch. And the performances, the acting itself is actually really great too. I think Joaquin Phoenix does a very spectacular job playing Napoleon in the movie. Like, Joaquin Phoenix, like, he's a great actor. I really adore Joaquin Phoenix in some of his films. And earlier this year, he was in Beau is Afraid, which I liked. I liked him in Beau is Afraid. And Vanessa Kirby was also good in the film too as Josephine. Like Vanessa Kirby, I thought she did good in the film. She was great as well. And like I said, Rupert Everett plays the Duke of Wellington in the film. And Rupert Everett, I thought he did pretty good in the film as the Duke of Wellington that Rupert Everett plays. I thought he did pretty good. Like, I also really loved him in My Best Friend's Wedding. Excuse me, pardon me. I've been coughing lately. My apologies. But yeah, just ignore that. So, and yeah, pretty much there are some things that make this movie like not a perfect film. Because I know this movie's not a perfect film, but maybe this movie might get nominated for some Oscars at next year's Oscars, Academy Awards, maybe for Best Actor or something like that. Maybe some best scenes or something like that. But yeah. But I mean, hell, it might get a Best Picture nomination, but that might be just me or something like that. But I gotta say, Ridley Scott actually does a great job directing this film, and I really do appreciate it. And I really do appreciate his direction for the way what he's going for this film. And as for the opening logos for Columbia Pictures, like Apple Original Films and Scott Free Productions. Like, the Columbia Pictures logo actually opens up without the Sony logo transition. Yeah, because when the movie first started, there was no Sony logo transition at all. I think it's mainly due to the fact that this movie's an Apple original film, and I think Sony Pictures distribution probably doesn't have any association with this. Even if they did, then yeah, the Sony logo transition would have made an appearance on an Apple original film. But yeah, the movie basically starts off with the Columbia Pictures logo, and even the fanfare in the Columbia logo is actually they actually bring back the high tone, like the pal tone and high tone, like the pal pitch, like in high pitch. Yeah, because they actually brought back the high pitch of the fanfare. Yeah, because I think it was the high pitch fanfare that was used from 1998 to 2012. Because I remember, like, my friend Justin told me that when we were texting each other after I saw the movie. But yeah, so aside from all that, this movie Napoleon was actually pretty good. Yeah, I know I said this three times already, but this movie was good and all, and yeah, and sure, it's not really considered to be one of Ridley Scott's best films in modern years, and now I've seen 3 Ridley Scott films in theaters. Now that I saw Napoleon, the previous 2 Ridley Scott films I saw in theaters were The Martian with Matt Damon and House of Gucci. Yeah, and I've seen a little bit of Ridley Scott's other films on digital, like the 2010 Robin Hood with Russell Crowe and G.I. Jane with Demi Moore, and yeah, and of course The Last Duel. Yeah, so and I really do like the fact that how this movie takes place in the 1700s, and then halfway through the movie it takes place in the 1800s, and yeah, the best way I can describe Napoleon is just a good enough Ridley Scott film. Yeah, I'm glad that I saw it. So there you have it. So overall, Napoleon was a good movie from Ridley Scott, and Joaquin Phoenix does a spectacular job. And I'm gonna give Napoleon 3.5 out of 5 stars. So yeah, if you haven't seen the film yet, then I recommend checking out this movie. And there you have it, guys. That's going to be it for my movie review on Napoleon. And that's going to be it for this video. So make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And as always, thanks for watching. And until next time, this is Mr. A. Crizzy saying goodbye, everybody, and that's about it.